The unacceptable, unbelievable truth. There is only one truth, and that truth is the origins of mankind's existence, your existence. I am going to tell you that truth. But I must warn you, it is almost impossible to tell the truth in this existence. First, because the truth is unacceptable. Second, because it is unbelievable. By unacceptable, I mean it will be automatically rejected without profound reflection. By unbelievable, that it will be regarded as fiction. In both cases, the truth will fail to trigger the awakening, the fundamental change that should follow the hearing or reading of such extraordinary information. And the world will go on asking, what is truth? And never stopping to listen for the answer. However, among a very small number of the Earth's population at this time, the truth will have a profound effect, which is the virtue in telling it. And the seed of it will grow in the human subconscious, to become in generations ahead the root of a more enlightened struggle by man to overcome his ignorance by realizing the truth of himself. The knowledge of man's origins is almost non-existent in existence at this time. Nonetheless, being our origins, it is not something basically alien or unavailable to us. The truth exists, at least potentially, in the individual man and woman's power to recognize his or her source when confronted with it. I trust this happens to you now. Because the truth is simple, yet so elusive to our complicating minds, there is a special way to listen to it. The judging mind must be suspended. The mind automatically wants to question, reject, or accept what it hears. You can't do that and hear the truth. You have to listen with your understanding. That alone can hear and distinguish truth. Nor can you learn the truth like a subject, because you already know it, only you've forgotten it. And the purpose of listening in this way is to enable you to recall it by recognizing it. All I'm going to do is to tell you a story. If you stop to question whether it's true, or to try to work out something I've said, you'll miss the truth and the narrative. The narrative is the truth. What is true is not the truth. It is true that trees have leaves, but that's not the truth. Just allow the story, the words, to wash over you, through you. Be empty. Be simple. Only when you've heard it through to the end should you stop and ponder it. Each time you listen, treat the story as a meditation, a period of quietude of mind while you listen and while you ponder. By hearing it repeatedly, you will start to recognize the truth, which will be the dawning of your own recollection of the days when you were free. And you will have started the journey back. Everything around us, existence as a whole, contains the reflection of the truth, the reflections of the origins of the human race. It is there, and I will show it to you, if only you can listen and be still. Be yourself. But where we have already failed in a way before we begin, or where our ignorance arises, is in our self-forgetfulness. By choosing to remember other things, we have chosen to forget the most precious thing we ever had. By our lack of profound reflection, by always allowing our current existence to distract us, we have distanced ourselves from the knowledge of our sublime origins. Some men and women once knew where we came from. We weren't always this far from the beginning. But gradually we have forgotten, and at the same time have lost the power to recognize in existence the crystal clear reflections of our origins. What I am going to say now is the truth of existence, a crystal clear reflection for you to ponder on profoundly. We are life. There is no other life in the cosmos. Life anywhere else in the universe is us. Life is one and cosmic in origin, not of the planet. We are cosmic. Our bodies are spacesuits. Without a spacesuit, life can't exist on this alien planet Earth. The spacesuits were designed and developed by cosmic intelligence. Cosmic intelligence is inseparable from the one cosmic life. Starting from nothing, the cosmic aim was to provide in time a suitable vehicle, the human spacesuit, through which cosmic intelligence itself could appear as life on Earth. It was the stupendous undertaking of all time. Over what we have conceived as nearly 2,000 million years of evolution, since the first life forms of the species are said to have appeared on the planet, the future human spacesuit was biologically cultured and cultivated with incomparable genius and precision. Today, the human spacesuit, the ultimate life form of all the species, is complete, but with only human intelligence. As the future vehicle or expression on Earth of cosmic intelligence, it is still evolving and has a good way to go. Human intelligence, being less evolved than the human spacesuit itself and not yet cosmically aware, has an extremely limited view of the cosmic marvel, the spacesuit through which it operates. For instance, it can't grasp, let alone appreciate, the following truth, unless you, the individual, has started to take the next evolutionary step forward towards cosmic awareness. That truth is, the existence of the planet, together with the perceived universe, is created every moment by the projection of life and intelligence out through the amazing human spacesuit. As ourselves, that is, before life is projected out through the spacesuit, each of us is ourself, the one self, life within. Life is not divisible. It only becomes divisible or differentiated in the forms we see projected through the spacesuit. We see other spacesuits, not other life. We, that is I, am life. Once upon a time, which is another way of saying when man and his spacesuit were very young and the world was very different, the rulers of the various nations on Earth were remarkable individuals. They still remembered or realized that they were in fact the one indivisible life behind the spacesuits. To communicate this, they used the plural we when speaking of themselves, as royalty sometimes copies today. The singular I was used by their less evolved but more involved forgetful subjects to affirm and establish a formal but unreal and fundamentally ignorant personal individuality or identity. The spacesuits became multiple millions of I, representing the one self or life. This one self or life, I am, always was, and always will be. I want to give you some idea in your own experience of what it means to be the one self, the life beyond existence. You will appreciate that I have to talk through my spacesuit to your spacesuit, and that in this sense we are both in existence. But on the other side of the spacesuit, deep inside the spacesuit, you and I are not in existence. That doesn't mean we have no being there. It only means we have no existence there comparable to that of seeing, feeling, hearing, tasting, thinking, and knowing through our spacesuit. For instance, when you go into a deep, dreamless sleep and withdraw deep into the spacesuit, you have no perceived existence, no knowledge of that dreamless state. But that doesn't mean you cease to be. In fact, you sometimes awake into existence from sleep, remarking on how extraordinarily good the state was, even though from an existential point of view you knew nothing about it. From that, it's not difficult to understand what happens when you die. You withdraw into the spacesuit beyond its sense projections and become yourself, the one indivisible self, life, leaving behind the battered or worn-out spacesuit that merely created your sense of existence. The spacesuit is really one big sense of knowing, which provides all the knowledge of existence. If you don't know you exist, such as when you're unconscious or dead, you don't exist. People get terrified by this idea. But there's no need to be once you understand that existence is only a projection through the spacesuit anyway, of what you already are on the other side of existence. So you don't have to exist to be yourself. In fact, you are less yourself here in existence than when you are unconscious or dead. You are a long time dead, it is said, and that only means you are all that time your real self, and not just a projection as you are here in existence for a mere 70 or 80 years. Another thing which disappoints people about the truth of death is that becoming one with the indivisible self behind the spacesuit must mean they lose their individuality. No, not true. The incredible truth about the one self is that, in it, individual consciousness is preserved. After death, you are one with this self, this totality of life, and yet you are still your own consciousness, your own aware self. When man and his past were very, very young, he had just entered his spacesuit and was perceiving existence on Earth for the first time. Coming from a place where all life was one, his own self, it could have been a frightful experience to suddenly look out through the senses of the spacesuit and see himself surrounded by an infinitely divided existence. But something he was perceiving in existence, something obviously no longer visible through our spacesuits today, made the transition perfectly natural. He was seeing in existence the reassuring, crystal-clear reflection of his own self, and he was entranced by what he saw, absolutely fascinated. Certainly, his self was appearing in a strange, differentiating medium, but he recognized that self instantly. What was it? Nature. Nature, life, was all around him as existence. There was nothing else but nature in all its uncompromising beauty and wonder. This, he perceived immediately, was his nature, his life, being projected into existence through the marvelous new spacesuit. And despite his nature's unfamiliar form of existence, he not only recognized it, but realized it and loved it as himself. Never could he be alone in this strange exteriorizing Earth existence while his own nature was all it consisted of. Or so it seemed. Being new in his spacesuit, he was not yet attached to it or to the existence it was creating. He was still one with his true self, the one life or nature within, and free to realize this at any time. So he could enjoy both worlds, enter his spacesuit and be in existence, or withdraw from it and be in himself. But in time a serious hitch developed in the spacesuit. What may seem an incredible design oversight. The ceaseless projection of existence as the present also created the endless existence of the past. And as existence in the present is substantial, so is existence of the past. The spacesuit design made no allowance for this mysterious substance of past. Consequently, the man inside of it dismissed the past as an abstract notion, assuming it to just pass and vanish into nothing. But the past kept building up in existence, until eventually it invaded the spacesuit itself. Unaware of what was happening, man started to get stuck in the past, stuck in the spacesuit, stuck in existence. Less and less was he able to withdraw at will into his indivisible self, his inner nature. Soon he was up to his neck in past, fixed in it, forced to look only outwards through the senses and through the memory, the adhesive substance of the past itself that had invaded the spacesuit. Man's free will, the power to reunite at will with his inner self, now faltered, then disappeared. His awareness of nature, as the crystal-clear reflection of his own nature, receded, to be eventually forgotten. Although his delight continued in nature and its power to revitalize his now divided being, the supreme knowledge that it was his self vanished. Existence was starting to seem to be all there was. Trapped in his spacesuit, squeezed unbearably by the mounting pressure of the past, and with the knowledge of nothing behind him, man was unable for long to remain a part of the scenery like the rest of nature. He had to go forward, be pushed further into existence. This he did by another remarkable feat of self-projection through the spacesuit. He projected his intelligence out into existence and onto nature. He was now outside himself, outside the spacesuit as we are today. 3 disastrous errors followed. First, he saw nature to be separate from himself, and he determined to control it. Had he realized the truth of his origins, that nature was his own nature, and as such would naturally provide for all his needs, there would have been no problems in existence. But man was no longer himself. He thought the spacesuit was his self. So attached to it by the past was he, that he even identified with the spacesuit's failings, now beginning to show due to its ignorance of the past. And in a further massive stroke of ignorance and self-forgetfulness, he accepted these failings as his own, and excused them by calling them human nature. Incredibly, due to the fundamental ignorance of his projected human intelligence, there were now 2 natures in existence, nature and human nature. Finally, on the beauty and wonder of nature, the nature of the earth, he was about to impose human nature, with horrific results. Human nature, the spacesuit gone wrong, is the exploitation of the present by the past, of what is by what has been. Instead of using the power of his projected intelligence to control human nature, or at least to try to correct the past defect in the spacesuit, he used it to help human nature exploit nature. And as the past and man grew older, strange changes started to appear in the nature of the earth. As man's nature had changed, so nature had to reflect that change. Natural abundance and fertility became patchy, and more under the control of human nature through some spacesuit or groups of spacesuits. As exploitation for the few slowly replaced plenty for all, human nature replaced nature with a new sort of nature, the environment, nature-controlled. Instead of simply nature and truth, or nature and man, there was now nature, human nature, and the environment. Man was moving further away than ever from the truth of his origins and himself. Without realizing it, he was replacing the earth with the world. The marvelous spacesuit, that incredibly sophisticated biological robot, had become a monster and the master. And the tragedy was, man failed to see it. But in spite of the spacesuit's usurpation of his life and nature, man would never cease searching in existence for the truth of life he had left and lost. In time, his search for life would lead to the founding of civilization, his search for truth to the achievements of the sciences. But never would he succeed in finding life or the truth in existence, only their fleeting, tantalizing reflection. So instead of truth, he would settle for facts and opinions, and instead of life, for just a better kind of living for his spacesuit. The biggest problem in existence is death, but only to man. Nothing else fears death, because only man has the intelligence to separate death from life. When man and his past were very, very young, he knew nothing of death. He was still himself, still inside nature, looking out of his brand new spacesuit at the wonder of the earth. If his spacesuit was failing, he simply used his free will to withdraw further back into life, the one immortal self. Only after he had stepped outside himself, by projecting his intelligence onto nature, did he discover death. And he was appalled, horror-struck. For there in front of him, mirrored in existence, was the crystal-clear reflection of the secret of death, what death was. What he saw, we shall hear what it is in a moment, all men since have chosen to forget and never to confront again. Killing and being killed he had accepted as part of survival, since making nature his contestant. And with his superior intelligence he felt competent to take his chances there without much fear. But death, he realized, was something more than mere dying. Death indeed was in the repelling corpse and stench of the dead spacesuit, yet it was more. It was in the tears, howls, disease, deformity, misery, injury, age, obstinacy, cunning, senility, and madness that he saw reflected in the existence of the other spacesuits around him. Yet it was more than that too. Death was also in the dark he was afraid of, in his disturbing dreams, in the silence and sounds of the night, in the dread of loneliness, in the ache of loss, and in his own uneasy presence. "What is this existence I have entered?" he asked. "It is death, living death," was the crystal clear answer. And in the midst of this terrible uncertainty of death, or living, he craved for the certainty of life, the self he'd left behind and forgotten, the beauty he sensed around him but could not hold. This self he now called God, or gods, and he worshipped it in its reflection, nature, endeavouring to appease and propitiate it, unable to just love it, be it, within himself. Until finally, his human intelligence told him better, and he worshipped nothing. Well, nothing except the hope of tomorrow to escape from today. Thus, man's first confrontation with death was his last. He ran from it, and has been running ever since. Further and further into existence he flees, carving it up with his human intelligence into ever finer slices and slivers of memorable knowledge, questioning everything but the existence of existence, the existence of death. Into nature, into civilization, evolution theory, the microscopic world, the subatomic world, and now out to the planets and towards the stars he runs, always away from himself, always towards another day, another dying, another death. The deeper into existence he speeds, the faster and swifter his treadmill world revolves around him, and the more often he asks, "What's it all about? Where am I going?" And the crystal clear answer he will not hear echoes back out of the reflection of his own existence, "Nowhere, only towards death." Every aspect of reality, that is, the truth of life beyond existence, is reflected at this moment in existence around you. By listening to this story, you are discovering how to discern it. You will notice that no matter how unusual or new the truth is that I am describing, I demonstrate it in existence, related to the fact of your life here, on earth now. Consequently, it is possible for anyone, even a child who has had enough experience of living, to follow the truth I am speaking, provided they can remain sufficiently still to listen in their own experience. However, the impulse can be irresistible for the listener's human intelligence to escape back into existence through the memory, through what has been previously heard or read. What you have heard or read is not your own experience, or you wouldn't have to remember it. The point is, the test of any truth being put to you now or in the future by anyone is to demand that it be demonstrated in existence. If it can't be, it's imagination, or the person doesn't understand what he or she is talking about. This is our protection in the truth against being misled or hoaxed. Eternity is a word no longer in serious use. The truth it describes has been forgotten. so the word has no real meaning in the modern lexicon. It is often mistaken as a synonym for infinity, a different thing altogether. Children must be really in the dark if ever they hear the word. Nevertheless, what the word stands for hasn't gone away. It's us that have gone away from eternity in our panic flight into existence. Eternity is the place or state being reflected every moment as existence through the spacesuit. Eternity contains life, undifferentiated, the one self. If you look around you now at existence, you are seeing what is in eternity, what we call life. Only here, the original is being attenuated, stretched out like an elastic band, in time. There is no time in eternity. In eternity, existence as life is complete, finished, before it begins. In addition to everything that's in existence, eternity contains all that ever has been or ever can be. In other words, the totality of life, past, present, and future. But it takes an eternity of time for the spacesuit to project it all. Hence the inconceivable duration or timelessness of eternity reflected as existence. Please don't panic. This is not deep, not difficult, not boring. Don't run away. Don't escape into your memory and start thinking, drifting out into space. It's all very simple if you can just keep listening. While you are listening, you are actually traveling towards eternity away from existence, without having to leave existence. And unlike learning anything, you don't even have to try to understand. There's nothing to understand. Let me show you. If you're returning home at night, you don't need to understand where you're going. You only need to recognize where you're going. And that's what's happening here. You came out of eternity this way into existence. So the way back is familiar. Just hear the words and you'll recognize it. Don't think. Don't question. You're going towards home. The reflection in front of us of the eternalness of eternity, which I said was always there if you can see it, is the moment, what we call now. In the moment-to-moment flow of the now, there is no last moment, no next moment, only this perpetual moment, now. This ceaseless moment is the nearest thing in existence to eternity, the timeless. Further, like eternity or life itself, everything you perceive now is fresh and new. There is nothing newer. Even if it's a rotten apple you're perceiving now, it's the latest condition of that rotten apple. Only when you stop to think or to put your attention onto something do you go deeper into existence, into the past and time, and further away from eternity, the moment or the now. The key to eternity is that it contains no past. All is now as it was before existence began, and as it will be when existence ends. This simply means, and it is the simplest truth ever told, that if something you loved in existence has died or disappeared, it remains itself, changeless and pastless in eternity. The same applies to you. You, burdened as all human beings in existence must be by the pressure of past or age, have no burden in eternity. There, now, you are always yourself, pastless and free. The last thing I want to mention here about eternity is the substance of it. As I said a few minutes ago, every truth is reflected for us in existence, and that reflection is what I call its substance. In short, existence gives substance to eternity. If the moment is the substance of eternity's timelessness in existence, what represents its immeasurable quality in existence? Space. Space is the immeasurable substance of eternity. Everything exists in space as everything is in eternity. And space is in everything as eternity is in everything. We move and have our being in this reflection of eternity, space. Simple, isn't it? I'm now going to ask you to do something quite incredible. I want you to come with me into eternity. I'm going to ask you, don't do it yet, to close your eyes and be still, and I'll show you eternity itself. It mightn't last long because you'll want to dart back into existence. Still, you'll understand what and where eternity is, and with the practice of listening, you'll gradually find yourself getting there more often. So now, close your eyes, wipe out all thought, and be still. That was eternity. What was? That stillness, that first split second of emptiness before you started to think or doubt. As soon as you thought or questioned, you introduced experience into eternity, and it became existence. There is no experience in eternity. What happened was, you couldn't bear the isolation of it. You fled back into existence. That's okay. That's normal. I only wanted you to be there for an instant, so you would be able to follow the rest of what I'm going to say. Many people feel they can't even reach the stillness of eternity for an instant. But most do reach it without knowing it. The test, the confirmation that you are moving towards eternity, is if you are able to continue listening to what I am saying without needing to react, experience, or to try to understand. Look around you. The space you see between objects is the reflection of eternity. Nothing is as empty and still as space. So it's no wonder that a minute ago, when you entered or became the space inside you, which is the real thing, eternity itself, that you couldn't feel it, couldn't experience it, and that you should react by filling it with doubt or thought, or in short, running from it. In your experience, what is this eternity, this space within you, this inner space? It is mind, the one mind. Eternity is the void of eternal mind, mind before it comes into existence through the spacesuit and appears as the space of the universe. The universe is in the mind. I'm now going to show you the source of life, where the glory of the earth and the marvel of the spacesuit and yourself come from. To do this, I have to ask you to come on another journey. Close your eyes, relax, and be as still as you can. Don't try. Don't concentrate. Just be. What you are looking at with your eyes closed is the start of the eternity of mind. It is your mind. There can be no disputing that. It's you who are perceiving the darkness. But whose mind it is at any moment depends on what is in it. For instance, your memory is in that mind, so that makes that little area temporarily yours. Similarly, if you think about anything, you put that particular personal knowledge or memory of experience into it. And it is then your mind, no one else's, and certainly not the eternal. As everyone thinks most of the time, they think they have an individual mind, when in fact, all they are experiencing is their individual knowledge, in the one mind. I'm now going to put some original knowledge into your individual mind. This knowledge is not my knowledge, meaning it doesn't come from my limited memory or limited experience of existence. This knowledge comes from the eternal mind itself, beyond existence, beyond the spacesuit. This knowledge I'm going to give you is the truth, that is, the origins of the existence of life. When I put this knowledge, this extraordinary new energy, for that is what it is, into your mind, and if you can hold it there by keeping out your own limited knowledge and experience and references, your mind will become compatible with the eternal mind. The effect of this, either immediately or gradually, will be to still your little mind and its restless urge to exist as thinking in the memory, which only comes from its lack of real knowledge anyway, due to its incorrigible forgetfulness. And in time, your mind will become identical with the mind. The little mind forgets what it should remember, and remembers what it should forget. What I'm going to tell you now is just another one of the things its busyness has helped you to forget. Keep your eyes closed. Relax. Don't judge. Just listen. Eternity, the eternal mind, contains numerous ideas, supremely radiant cosmic ideas, each representing life in some pure abstract form. One is the supernal idea of life as man and the earth. We earthlings can perceive no other idea in the eternal mind, and nor do we need to, than this, our very own most precious idea of life on earth. However, when perceived from the earth, the quality of eternal mind is so lacking in past or retention that at first it seems to have nothing in it, and we have to be patient while our little mind slows down, divests itself of past notions, and adjusts energetically upward, allowing the idea to shine through. Now, with your eyes closed, the enormous expanse and power of the eternal mind is immediately behind and slightly above the dark and light screen of dots and shapes you are looking at. Those dots and shapes, don't worry if you can't see them yet, you will, and then unfortunately you've got to forget them, are the last shadows of existence obscuring the eternal mind. What you are going to do now with me is to look through the shadows into the eternal mind itself, as you can look through the smears on a window without being distracted by them. Keep your eyes closed. Please don't anticipate. No effort must be made. Just relax and go along completely with what I say. Everything will happen naturally and effortlessly if you do this. Forget about the shadows. Forget everything. Receive only what I am saying now. You are looking into a great void. It is absolutely still and empty. This is the eternal mind. Look into it, around it. Get used to it. It is stillness, nothing else. Don't question it. It won't go away while you stay with it. If the shapes return in front of your eyes to try to pull you back into existence, hold on to the still mind beyond and slightly above them. Look into the mind so endlessly deep and still. Keep looking into it. Be it. In that great void, you are aware of a point of tremendous energy and power. Nothing could describe that single infinitesimal point, that cosmic idea of life as man and earth. It is pure energy, radiance beyond light, spirit. All you can do is behold it. For to behold it, that is, to hold the point in the mind, is to see it. You can't use any knowledge or experience to enlarge on my description of that point. If you do, it will become something it is not, and you'll be back in existence in your own limited mind or knowledge. Hold the point in the mind. It is energy, extraordinary energy. When you hold it, its presence is registered, not seen or felt in the usual sense of feeling. Once you've got the point, you've got the idea, which is the pure idea or pure abstraction of life as the earth, without concepts. Then it is easy to hold, and the mind stays absolutely still. If you have the idea now, if you have the stillness, I suggest you pause for a while and stay with that state as long as you can. But do come back. Holding the stillness and the point, keep your eyes closed. Something is happening. You are aware that something else is present in the void. Something more energetically inconceivable and abstract, even than the void itself. You register that it is heading through the void for the point, although nothing can be seen but the point. It reaches the point, envelops it, and the radiant perceived presence of the point, the idea of life, goes out, disappears. You are waiting for whatever it is to pass on. It doesn't. The void is void again. Empty. Absolutely still as it was in the beginning. Only one thing has changed. You. You now know that something unperceivable is present in the mind within you, the mind of mankind, obscuring from your vision the point of existence and the idea of life on earth. What is the point of existence? And what is the idea of life? These two questions have troubled man since time began, and you have now seen why. Everything has its cause in eternity, even our ignorance or lack of knowledge. But all that has changed. Through you, man has seen the truth, the causal event in eternity of our ignorance. Through you, man now has the original knowledge, which is the power to do something about penetrating that inconceivable obscurity and answering those questions. That is the next great step towards bringing cosmic intelligence to Earth through the spacesuit. The scourge of the Earth is time or past. Like an alien energy from outer space, it has captured the planet, completely enveloping or devouring it. Out of the Earth it sucks a constant stream of life into itself, into existence, exhausting, poisoning, and destroying it in every form. The spacesuit has no defense against it, yet no existence without it. Human intelligence, mystified by it, can't perceive it. Life in every form cries for mercy from it, in man for freedom from it. Yet none can resist its irresistible pull to live, and to live again. Here is the mystery of life and existence. Please close your eyes again. Enter the stillness, the eternal void. See again the radiant point of the idea of the Earth. Register the mass of inconceivable energy heading towards the idea. This time, as it envelops it, you can perceive it as an impenetrable atmosphere around the idea. What is this thing in eternity, this incredible energy? Is it good or bad, right or sinister? Or is it so causal, so fundamental to life and experience on Earth, that all we can do in its presence is be still and endeavour to understand it more? It is the will. It is the eternal cosmic will. In the eternal mind, there is only eternal will and eternal idea, life. There is no existence. Existence occurs in the inscrutable will itself, which surrounds the idea. So no idea in the eternal mind can come into existence without the immediate presence of the will, as no idea in man's mind can manifest in the world without the will. Idea needs will to exist. Let us look closer at the will embracing the idea in eternity. Listen to what it is doing. The will is conceiving. Like a great womb, it is drawing the seed of life, the substance of the idea of earth and man, into itself, into existence. The idea at the centre is completely unaffected. It remains pristine, pure and untouched, although you can't perceive this. All you can perceive, if you open your eyes now and look around you for confirmation, is existence at this moment in time of the will's conception of the idea. The will, as you have just heard it described in the eternal mind, is the archetype of all wombs in existence. The womb is the substance of the will. As the will in eternity is eternally pregnant with the idea of life, so the earthly wombs are everlastingly pregnant with the seeds of existence. And within the will, within the wombs of time and within each seed, is the magnificent terrestrial idea we all love and ache once more to be: life. What has man got to do? He has got to get back. He has got to get back his free will. You, the individual man or woman, have got to be able to withdraw at will back from existence into life, so that you can know at any moment there is no death. The fear of death is the curse of life. When you no longer fear death because you have become one with life within, you no longer fear living and no longer are confused. And when we don't fear living and are not confused anymore, we don't have to be selfish and exploitive of one another, as we now are nation to nation, community to community, person to person, even to those we love. You must stop running. Stop trying to work things out. There's nothing to work out. Slow down inside. Face up to the truth of existence, not just the fact of it. Enough's enough. How is this done? It is done by being stiller, by giving up your dependence on what your little mind thinks it knows. All that man has lost is his stillness, his simplicity, his ability to listen and to hear. His little mind has filled his little memory with the useless things of existence and has blotted out his eternal memory of the truth of life, his own source, the sweet, simple awareness of immortality. You must do what you have to do in the world. That is not the problem. The problem is restlessness. And that's only not knowing what you want. I'll tell you now what you want. You want stillness. And that's the end of restlessness. Listen. Listen to the truth wherever it can be heard. The truth creates stillness. Listen to the silence in yourself. Listen to this truth until its energy is yours. Hold the images in your mind without movement or thought. Above all, hold the one idea, the point within the obscurity. If it takes months, years, nothing is lost. All the time you are becoming stiller. There is no other way. Stillness is the way. Stillness alone can overcome the will's invincible pull to die into existence. Only stillness can return to the idea of life and love within. We are not here for our spacesuits. Human nature and human intelligence do not run the earth. They have merely ruined existence. Like a child getting its experience in a playpen, they have made an awful mess. But it's nothing that won't be cleaned up. We are here for the earth. We are here for life. We are here to be cosmically intelligent. When enough of us are cosmically intelligent, we will open the earth to cosmic life and participate in that inconceivable reality. Goodbye. I am here to help you.